good morning. I am Yasafe S. Hika, and I will be going to report about the intentional food safety programs and protection of standards and regulatory organizations. So, first would be the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization is a specialized agency of the United Nations concerned with global public health. So as you can see, ang kaning World Health Organization mao ni siya ang kanang mga leaders nga mo provide sa katong mga, especially sa karon nga pandemic, sila may mag-provide sa mga for example mga vaccines nga kanang tested na siya or proven and tested na siya before releasing. Okay? Next would be the Food and Agriculture Organization. The Food and Agriculture Organization is the United Nations, is a specialized agency of the United Nations that leads to international efforts to defeat hunger and improve nutrition and food security. So in other words, the Food and Agriculture Organization mo ni siya, for example, mga charity works mga mag-indulge og ganang feeding program like for example ana na siya. So next would be Codex Alimentarius, or the Food Quality and Safety Standards. The words Codex Alimentarius are Latin meaning food law or food code. This accurately describes the Codex Alimentarius, a collection of food standards developed and presented in unified, codified manner. Associated with these standards are documents such as the codes of Hygienic and Good Manufacturing Practices, or GMP, recognized methods of analysis and sampling, general principles, and guidelines. So in other words, the Codex Alimentarius is a collection of international standards, guidelines, and codes of practice to protect health of consumers and ensure the fair practices in the food trade. And its importance is to establish sound internationally agreed guidelines for national food control systems based on the criteria of consumer health protection. Since Codex was aforementioned, let me tell you what Codex means. Codex is a manuscript book, especially of scripture, classics, or ancient annals. So, katong meron siya og kanang guidelines kay ato is about man food. Nanda siya meron siya brochure, ato label ta siya brochure nga na dito niyo makita ang mga importance, ang mga guidelines nga unsa na siya unsay kanang ma-broth ana niya ngari sa ato ang especially nato mga humans nga kanang mga ifs, mga buts, mga questions ni mga gusto nimo ma-answer, mapangitan og answer na dito sa Code of Alimentarius. So, kawonder ba mga kanang kinsa write sa Codex of Alimentarius? So, ang writer din ng Codex Alimentarius nga kanang naghahatag og awareness sa usa ka tawo is si Franz Hensel. Usa ni siya ka Austrian citizen.
Good day everyone, especially to our THC 122 instructor, Mr. Rolando Laurente. My name is Sharafit Mihias, and today I will report about Codex Standards. Codex Standards is defined as the identity of the product and describe the basic composition and quality factors for international trade. Its duties are to protect the health of consumers, provisions on food additives, contaminants, and hygiene requirements from a central core of each standard. The introduction of risk analysis as a discipline in standardization opens new possibilities for harmonization. The Codex Alimentarius Commission is the product of the intergovernmental body established by the FAO in 1961. Since 1962, the CAC has been responsible for implementing the joint FAO or WHO Food Standards Program. The objectives of the program are to protect the health of consumers, to ensure fair practices in the food trade, and to coordinate all food standards work. Next topic is the Codex Alimentarius procedures. Codex is also a process, the careful deliberative process of elaborating standards, codes of practice, guidelines, and other codex recommendations, and of keeping these current and up to date. The goal is the harmonization of national food standards. Next are the factors taken into account adopted by the Commission. First, the food standards, guidelines, and other recommendations of Codex Alimentarius shall be based on the principle of sound scientific analysis and evidence, involving a thorough review of all relevant information so that the standards assure the quality and safety of the food supply. Next, when elaborating and deciding upon food standards, Codex Alimentarius will have regard, where appropriate, to other legitimate factors relevant to the health protection of consumers and for the promotion of fair practices in food trade. Lastly, in this regard, it is noted that the food labeling plays an important role in furthering both of these objectives. The International Food Standard or IFS. The International Food Standard or IFS is a common food safety standard with a uniform evaluation system used to qualify and select suppliers. It helps retailers ensure the food safety of their products and monitors the quality level of producers of retailer-branded food products. IFS is the international standard for auditing retailer and wholesaler-branded food products. Codex Committee on Food Additives and Contaminants, or CCFAC. The primary role of CCFAC is to recommend appropriate standards for food additives and contaminants to CAC. In the case of additives, CCFAC specifically considers technological justification and need for proposed levels of use. CCFAC also assigns priorities to additives and contaminants for GECFA evaluation.
Hi everyone, my name is Kristen Jean Loyola and I am going to report some parts of the final one of international food and safety programs and protection of standards and regulatory organizations. Factors taken into account adopted by the Commission. First, the food standards, guidelines, and other recommendations and Codex Alimentarius shall be based on a principle of sound scientific analysis and evidence, involving through review of all relevant information so that the standards assure the quality and safety of the food supply. So the first one is very easy to understand. The key word is the standards to assure the assurance of the food quality supply. So it means the good supply of the food and the safety of the delivery. And the next is when elaborating and deciding upon food standards, Codex Alimentarius will have regard, where appropriate, to other legitimate factors relevant to the health protection of consumers and for the promotion of fair practices in food trade. So the next is, in this regard, it is noted that food labeling plays an important role of furthering both of these objectives. So both of these objectives are very important, which is the quality supply, the good and of the supply of the foods, and the labeling, especially labeling. So we consumers buy the something food, we buy foods with proper label, proper manufactured, and proper place where the food made of, and what are the ingredients of this kind of food. And the next is the International Food Standards, or IFS. The International Food Standards is a common food safety standard with a uniform evaluation system used to qualify and select suppliers. It helps retailers ensure the food safety of their products and monitor the quality level of procedures of retailer branded of products. IFS is the international standard of auditing retailer and wholesalers branded food products. So the international food standard means the proper evaluation. Example, the proper uniform, where you can identify what kind of part your job is, a delivery or a food handler or what else or whatever. So it is very important for us to have uniform. It is one of the reasons or one of the samples what our customers should look. So the next is the Codex Committee of Food Additives and Contaminants. For short is CCFAC. The primary rule of CCFAC is to recommend appropriate standards of food additives and contaminants. In the case of additives, CCFAC specially considered technological justification and need to propose levels of use. Also assign properties to additives and contaminants for JECFA evaluation. So we all know or understand what are the additives and contaminants. For us, we usually use the contaminants with like Ajinomoto and other seasoning that are one of the example of contaminants. And the next is Codex Committee on Food Hygiene, or CCFH. It is a general purpose committee that has the overall responsibility for all provision on food hygiene prepared by Codex committees, which are contained in commodity standards, codes of practice and guidelines. CCFH also developed general principles, codes of practice and guidelines for food hygiene, as well as the microbiological criteria for food to be applied horizontally across codex committees. Food hygiene is different as all conditions and measure necessary to assure the safety and sustainability of food and all stages of food chain. So it we all it is very easy to understand the food hygiene, which have the proper criteria and have all the conditions and measures necessary to ensure the safety and sustainability of food. So from these words or from this sentence, this is very easy to understand about the food hygiene. So food hygiene, this is one of the most very important, because hygiene is a very important, because we are handling food, not only food and other stuffs. Hygiene is a very sensitive thing, so that we are all trained, and we should do it properly, because some other points, if we miss our cleaning our body or washing our hands, may affect the food that we are handling, and can affect the names of the company that we are working.